Hi, I'm Alan Ross. I'm here at the IEEE PES T&D, that's a lot of acronyms, conference. This is the 2020 version that is actually being held in 2022. These interviews that we're conducting is with thought leaders on the future of the power industry. So enjoy. My guest for this interview is John Bucciarelli. John is the president of S.D. Myers, a company that's near and dear to my heart. So John, thank you for joining us.
Alan, thanks for having us.
About 12 or 13 years ago, I came into the industry working for S.D. Myers, and you came into S.D. Myers, what, about 5 years ago?
A little under 5 years.
A little under 5 years. John, things are changing in the industry. Things are going to be changing for Myers. Before we talk about that, you're a thought leader, and that just by the name of your title means that you're a thought leader. What do you see changing in the power industry? Now that could be power industry utility, it could be industrial. I know S.D. Myers is the king of the industrial power system, but what do you see changing that's coming up in the future?
Yeah, one of the things that we see is a lot of change, especially being in the industry and the commercial side of the business. The whole grid dynamics are changing, having uptime changing. There's a lot going on that's causing us to really look at how we do business and how we plan to do business in the future.
So the biggest change that I see is money and technology. The government is giving a bunch of money to the infrastructure, and everybody says, oh, it's digitalization, technology. Whenever you put money and technology together, it means something. So I know from a technology standpoint, what do you think the biggest changes as it relates to data acquisition, data analysis, data application? What do you see the biggest changes coming in?
Yeah, in our charter at S.D. Myers, some of the things that we talk about all the time are these companies and the need to have data and making decisions based on data. In addition to some of the things that you're talking about, manpower is even changing.
Oh, yeah.
The knowledge that exists in this industry is retiring, and more people are changing companies over and over again, and so that consistency of knowledge is walking out the door sometimes. And so having a place to collect that data, be able to analyze that data and use it to make decisions is really critical in the future.
Yeah, some of the words that we hear a lot is interoperability, that instead of having a bunch of technical data coming and not speaking to each other, and somebody has to translate it, is be interoperable, make sure that it all kind of works together. That's especially true as at the distribution level. And that's probably where most of the change that we're going to see. I mean, generation is generation. We know there's change afoot there. Wind is wind, solar, solar. But the distribution system in the United States is changing, well, it's globally changing rapidly because of the demand curve. You know, we haven't had a demand curve increase in the last decade in the power industry, and it is projected to double within the next decade. That's a lot more generation coming in and being distributed out, and the current distribution model really is not going to be able to do that well. So when you look at distribution for the industrial marketplace, what are the things that you see happening there? I'm a guy and I make things, right? I make steel. Yeah. Warn me.
Yeah, we see a lot of data is really critical, and we see a lot of need for that storage of data. So one of the big booms that we see going on right now is data centers.
Right.
They're projected to grow exponentially over the next several years for all of these companies who are pushing things into the cloud, and those centers are really important to collecting that data and allowing these companies to make good decisions with that data. So that's one area where we see a lot of growth and a lot of money going toward.
Yeah, our previous guest was a gentleman, Prabhat Jain, who is the CEO of Virginia and Georgia Transformer. He is opening a plant in Chihuahua based on that, just for transformers for that market, and he thinks he can handle 20% of the new demand. That means there's 80% of the new demand that's got to be met somewhere, but that changes what S.D. Myers does in order to be able to address the issues that are happening at that level.
And one of the things that we see in industrials as well, not so much in the utilities, in the industrial market, the knowledge in there, they not only need that data collected and analyzed and diagnosed, but they also need the expertise that goes along with that. They need to have the recommendations made on their electric power systems to provide that not only that interoperability, but to be able to run for a really long time.
Right, right.
We know nowadays, right now, with lead times on equipment and things like that being really long, the importance of having equipment that they currently have running is really critical.
Yeah, especially their transformers.
Especially
the heart of the
the
system,
transformers,
right?
The heart of the system.
Yeah, our boss at one time told me that you're eventually going to fall in love with them. And I said, I don't think so. Well, guess what? It's happened to you, it's happened to me, right?
It has happened to me. It took a little bit of time to get there, but
Yeah.
I see the correlation now to the heart of the body and the heart of an electric power system being the transformer.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some transformation changes at SDMyers, but I want to talk about IEEE for a minute. I've been involved with IEEE now for about a decade. I'm a mechanical engineer, so I avoided it because you're mechanical, right?
Sure.
Yeah, we rule the world. But the idea that that IEEE is an organization that takes from us volunteers and gives back. You've got a lot of people at SDMyers that are heavily involved. Bob Razor has been on the Transformer Committee as long as I can remember, and he's the gold standard of the Transformer Committee and others. Talk a little bit about why IEEE is important to you guys.
Yeah, IEEE is really important, and as you mentioned, we have several members of our team that are on committees. Bob Razor being one. He's been in the industry for 44 years.
Wow.
And probably on committees that long. And
Yeah.
Andy Skolnick is another. But IEEE is really important because it's a place that can really lead, right? It's leading in that area and helping us to understand where the industry is going and how to keep pace with that. And so we're really excited to participate in those committees, learning, but also sharing that knowledge.
Right.
You know, we know that knowledge is key in this industry, and being able to share that with practitioners to ultimately keep their power systems up and running.
You mentioned something earlier about labor shortages, the idea that, and it's not going to get better quicker, right? It's still a problem. How are you handling some of those things?
Yeah, it's a tough challenge right now with the labor shortage. We're trying to handle those things by really being efficient. When I talk to my team at SDMyers, our idea of efficiency is not to reduce employees or eliminate employees, but our idea of efficiency is to do things in such a manner that allows the people that we have to focus on the most critical tasks that they do. And so some of the ways that we're doing that is really trying to engage our data in such a way that the people that are looking at those things can really spend their time in a very beneficial way. So when we think of efficiency, it's really maximizing the use of the people that we have, which are our most important resource.
Right. And another thing you just mentioned that you now is like maximizing the use of the assets that you already have. Because that's one of the other keys that Myers works on, is the ability to make sure the assets that you have function as they're supposed to function with no unplanned outages. That's going to be a big problem in the future when demand is increasing and you suddenly can't get new transformers. The lead time on transformers now, in many instances, is 3 to 6 years. Yeah. Years, not months. We used to deal in months, right?
Right, we did.
Yeah, and that's not getting any better soon either. We projected another 3 to 5 years before the supply chain of transformers comes into being. What are the things that you think SDMyers is focusing on to help me as an owner of electrical equipment, particularly transformers, but I know you're also moving into substations and other things, to maintain the equipment I've got so that it will last longer? Talk a little bit about not just the philosophy, but about the actual principles of how you do it.
Yeah. Well, as you know, our founder, Stan Meyer, started this company on the idea of making transformers last twice as long as they were intended to last.
Yeah.
And we've expanded that into electric power systems in recent years. But it really comes down to this crazy idea that we have at SDMyers, which is an ideal state, which is 100% uptime, maintenance-free electric power systems, and they run forever.
Right.
And people will think that's a crazy idea, but our job and our charter really pushes us toward the idea, how do we get customers as close to that ideal situation as they can? Now, we probably know we'll never get there, but if we're striving to get to that ideal state, we believe that by doing that, we can get customers pretty darn close to it. Some of the things that we're doing in that are in our field services business. Most people, when they think of field service, they think, well, it's broke, let's fix it.
Right.
SD Myers takes a little different approach. Although we do fix things that are broken, we try to do things in such a manner that prevent them from getting to a broken state.
Right.
So we've pushed our organization to drive to over 50% of our work being energized, preventative type maintenance, so we can take care of things before they get to a broken state. Everybody knows when they get to that broken state, it costs a whole lot more and takes a whole lot longer. So we're trying to do that in the areas of field service. And some of our engineered products are also designed to elongate the life of electric power systems. And so by giving a little bit of healthy dose every day, kind of like eating an apple every day, giving that healthy dose every day to a transformer electric power system will just create a really long life for that and not the need for it to break, hopefully.
Right, right.
So,
one of the things that you were talking about at length, one of the things that we used to do at SD Myers, I don't know if we still do it, is we had a birthday party for all of the transformers over 100 years old. But I understand somebody else is having a birthday today, so happy birthday, my friend. Thank you for...
Thank you.
See how I segued into that with the transformers?
I was afraid that might come up, but okay.
The transformers that were over 100 years old. Now that's not where you are, but you're part of a good, healthy generation.
So thanks. I'm over a half a century now, so hit 51 today, and Stan Myers, our founder, would be proud because that was his desire with transformers to max the life of them. So I haven't reached that yet, but we're excited that. So thank you for that.
Max life. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. John Bucciarelli is a dear friend. He is also the president of SD Myers, which is a subsidiary of the holding company called Good Place Holdings. We will be interviewing his boss later on today. Anyway, thanks, John.
Thanks, Alan.